Hey everyone, welcome to A Mighty Life. This is my channel where I talk about life in the US as a Filipino. So for this episode, I have a friend of mine. I've known him from back in the Philippines. We, although we don't belong to the same local church, but we used to be in the United Methodist Church in the Philippines, and now he is in he's in Florida. He's a pastor, although not with the United Methodist Church. And I still work with the United Methodist Church. And just we were both R1 visa holders before becoming green card holders. So in this episode, we'll be talking about being fathers, living life here in the U.S. and I think looking back a little bit sa buhay sa Pilipinas and some of the differences, some of the things we've been learning. So his name, I haven't said that, sorry. His name is Melvin Guerrero. So Kuya Melvin, welcome to my channel. How are you?
Oh, wow. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, Mikey. Thank you.
So, Kuya Melvin, I think I'd like to start with, kung kailan ka lumipat sa US kasama yung family mo and what that was like for you?
Okay, well, I came here 2013, and then it was supposed to be like yung mga preaching tour lang. Pero eventually, it ended up na there was a church who was in need of a pastor. They made it, parang they informed me about this need. So they told me that while you're here, baka gusto mo mag-apply na din. So I did submit my resume and all that. I underwent all the process, the interview, and eventually I got in. And then after that, well, they wanted me to stay. Kaya lang wala pa nga yung family ko, wala pa yung wife ko and yung children ko. And I said, no, I can't. I can't stay here without them. So they allowed me to go back home. And, sabay-sabay kami nagpunta 2014. So yeah, it was like a process. So I was supposed to stay 2013, but I decided to go home. They allowed me to do that. And then we all came here in 2014. So roughly around 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
My math is correct.
Yeah, math is not my strong suit too. So, nauna lang pala kayo ng isang taon compared with us kasi we moved to Nashville here in Tennessee at 2015.
Wow.
Nauna din ako ng May and then bumalik ako para sunduin yung mag-ina ko. Siyempre, dalawa pa lang sila nun, no? Yung wife ko and our eldest son. So, August of 2015 naman kami dito. So being R1 visa holders, that comes with a lot of struggles too. Kasi hindi makapag-work yung dependents natin. So my wife couldn't work, and I'm sure your wife couldn't work either. So, how did you deal with that, with yung realities? And part of our reality too is that church work is not. Let's just say it doesn't come with very high salaries and lots of perks. So,
well, it was very challenging talaga. I mean, coming here, of course, when you compute, dollars to pesos, you think that you're getting a lot. But in reality, you would struggle to make ends meet. And of course, yung limitation na hindi pwedeng mag-work yung wife mo dahil R2 visa siya. So we had to wait, if I'm not mistaken, around 3 to 4 years, if I'm correct. And so it's a challenge, it's a struggle. It's great that we have members who, are there to support and to, kaya lang, of course, there's only so much that they could do. We couldn't just keep on asking them for things. Although yun yung sinabi nila when we came here, just let us know what you need and we'll try to get it for you. Kaya lang, it's awkward, diba? I mean, I would always say, if you want to help someone, I mean, do it voluntarily. Use your intuition to figure out kung, okay, ano ba yung kailangan nila, and then I'll try to provide it, whether it's cash or siguro food. Pero we're just glad that people really tried and we were able to survive with limited financial support that we get from the church. Pero it was difficult talaga. Parang and syempre, yung wife ko, well, she was a dentist in the Philippines, not really used to being a stay-at-home mom. And at first, hindi siya nagda-drive. So it was very limiting and nerve-wracking, especially if we need to get yung basic necessities namin. But eventually, by God's grace, the Lord really taught us a lot of things, like to budget. And of course, yung lifestyle sa Philippines, you're more comfortable there. You can get to spend on certain things. And here, we really needed to we needed to figure out na hindi na pwede yung ganyan, yung lifestyle ninyo, and everything you need to do it. You have to. I mean, even yung we needed to. Well, my wife needed to learn how to cut my hair and yung mga basic things na that we have in the Philippines na binabayaran natin. Pagdating sa America, you have to do it yourself so that you can, you're penny pinching and you want to really make your salary last. So it was difficult, but looking back, it really taught us a lot of stuff. It taught us a lot of things. So grateful for that experience.
Yeah. My wife and I have a similar experience. Career woman din kasi siya. So she used to be working with ABS-CBN, particularly with Studio 23 and ANC. So pagdating din dito, yung dependents ng R1 visa kasi couldn't work. So she stay-at-home mom. Tapos may biyahe-biyahe pa ako every now and then because of work. So it was a struggle. And may mga times na sinasabi niya na medyo nade-depress siya. But thankfully, it didn't go through full-blown depression. And I think just like your experience shows, having community church members helped kasi we didn't have any family here in the US. Although may pinsan yung wife ko pero nasa Maryland, malayo-layo. So in your case, Kuya Melvin, did you have family members here in the US?
Well, yes. She has a sister here, so it's medyo lengthy kasi yung process or yung situation why they are also limited in yung interactions with us, and then of course in support then, and of course basically we just didn't want to bother or to burden them with a number of our needs. So I just heard you earlier mention na yung wife mo was a career woman, a businesswoman, and also she worked at Studio 23. I just thought of the time that I worked there as well. Kaya nga tinatanong ko, talaga? Anong year kaya yun? So baka we might have been passing each other.
Right.
We didn't know each other. But anyway, so having thought of that, syempre, yung naisip mo rin sa Philippines, you hear stories wherein yung mga ibang kamag-anak sa US na burden sila. Syempre, nakikitira sila sa mga kamag-anak nila when they come to the US. So we didn't want to do that to some of our relatives. I do have some family up north, New York and then sa Virginia, pero we didn't feel right na parang to just call them after so many years na we were not in contact with them, and then suddenly we'll just call them up. Not that it's bad, not that it's wrong, pero siguro it's just something that we thought na we didn't want to do. So as for yung sister ni Shermin, she also has a family here in Florida. Actually, they're just a few minutes away from our home. And we lived for, I think, a week or 2 weeks when we arrived here. Pero we decided na no, we have to have our own space. I talked to the church nung pagdating namin dito na we would prefer to have to rent an apartment para, well, it's ano rin eh, it's for your psyche that you, although you want to save money, pero it's more of like, okay, we need to make certain decisions ourselves and we need to figure things out ourselves. So we needed to learn real quick. And also it was a challenge for the church. Parang sabi ko nga eh, you can't put the burden too much on just one particular family. And we needed to also para bang be instrumental in educating the church na, okay, this is how you support your workers. So eventually that's what happened. So it was like parang kayo, I mean, although different yung circumstances natin, we have relatives here and kayo, you needed to really figure things out on your own. Pero kami nga, we wanted to really learn and we really wanted to understand kung paano gagawin to acclimate, basically. So,
right. One of the things that I compared it to, yung first time na right after namin magpakasal and then we moved in together, bought so many things like mga kailangan sa bahay. So pagdating namin parang, oh, parang ganun to ah. It's really a restart, kumbaga, from the life in the Philippines. So, Kuya Melvin, I just want to shift gears. I know you have 2 daughters, right?
yes.
So, right now I have 2 sons. We have 2 sons and another one on the way. Another son, so it's gonna be crazy at home. So, do you remember yung first time mo na maging daddy and what you felt then nung nalaman mo na magiging dad ka na and then you first held your daughter in your hands?
Oh boy, I mean, could I? It was like yesterday lang. I mean, looking at my teenage daughters ngayon, parang madalas ako mag-flashback. You know, when you get to see them and you talk to them, parang to me nananariwa pa rin yung time na they were babies, and I still look at photos when they were babies. So when the first time I found out my wife was pregnant, I was really overjoyed. Yun talaga yung ano namin eh. That was our intention, that immediately after we get married, kasi our parents are not getting any younger. I'm the youngest of 3 and my wife is the youngest of 5. Her parents were, I think, in their late 60s, I think, or early 70s when we got married. And then yung parents ko naman were in their, mid 60s, going late 60s. So we wanted to have a child para makita nila yung grandchildren. We're preparing for the future. I know it sounds morbid. I'm so sorry. Pero it's yun yung reality. And of course, before I got married, I always tell my kids, pati yung asawa ko, I've always wanted to be a husband and a dad. It's weird, pero yung iba may mga ambitions that they want to do well in their careers. Although, it was part of that. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be in media, pero I really envisioned myself as a husband. I don't know, maybe tayo, mga pastors' kids tayo, pero our fathers have set really great high standards, and it's great to see their example, and probably because of that, na nakita natin na wow, galing na example nila. I want to have a piece of this when I get a little bit older. Part of I want to be like my dad, or I want to be like my parents when I get older. So when I became a dad, it's so sweet kasi my wife has a high pain threshold. Am I saying it correctly? Yeah, her pain threshold is so high na hindi siya madaling nasasaktan. So it was really pleasant. When we found out she was pregnant, it was pleasant. It was great news. I was excited to see kung although syempre you're a little bit anxious because of your finances. I mean, every new dad would feel that. I was starting in the ministry. I left my secular job, and then Methodist pastors in the Philippines are not really
That's
exactly
true.
paid proportionally dun sa kanilang work. Pero, yeah, I was a young pastor, local pastor, not ordained, pero it's how should you call that? It's you had that certification. You were recognized as a local pastor. So I wasn't really making enough to support the family, and my wife being pregnant, I told her it would be best kung ease off muna siya dun sa kanyang job. So she was a stay-at-home mom. Well, when she was pregnant, then she was trying to lessen yung kanyang workload. So it was nerve-wracking, pero it was more exciting. I was more excited. And then when yung birth nga nung firstborn namin, si Diana, it was also awesome kasi nung pinakita ng doctor yung baby namin dun sa may window, immediately after she was pulled out of her mom, she was smiling. So I saw that as a great, maybe it was a sign that things are all right. Things are gonna be fine. It won't be as bad as you think, and I guess it was a great experience, kumbaga, overall. It was a different story with our second child kasi syempre 2 years old na yung panganay namin, and the second child came as a surprise, pero pleasant pa rin because nung nalaman nga namin that she was my wife was pregnant again, and we were expecting, nakakatuwa lang kasi nakita namin, although we were not financially prepared, nakita namin it was God really moving. It was the Lord showing us that truly your children would be like quivers, in your, parang they're arrows in your arsenal, and they are a reward from the Lord. At first, I was admittedly medyo anxious, and then my dad reminded me, "No, don't see it as a source of stress or even concern, kasi reward yan from the Lord." And from that moment on, we just really were glad that we were having children. Yeah, I hope that helped.
Yeah. Very precious talaga, lalong-lalo na yung first time na mahawakan mo, no? Tapos pero one of the things that I've always wondered, kasi sa 'di ba sa medieval art, Renaissance art and all that, ang daming images na Madonna and child, 'di ba? Yung parang Virgin Mary or mother and child together. Pero I've always wondered, bakit kaya parang wala masyadong painting ng father and son na comparable sa Madonna and child. But so but still, like yung experience ko din upon holding my son the first time, parang wow, yung hindi mo ma-explain yung the joy, the immense gratitude, and a little bit of awe na parang wow. Parang sa Bible yung sinabi din ni Adam na flesh of my flesh, something, blood of my blood, mga parang ganun, di ba? But such joy and such awe. Tapos, gusto ko lang din i-reiterate yung sabi mo kay Melvin na yung second child niyo was a surprise, no? Sa amin din, itong aming pangatlo na hinihintay namin, this later in 2020, well, he was a surprise. Yung tipong, kasi barely 1-year-old pa lang yung sinundan niya. Tapos, but still, it's still a joy, and that's a good reminder for us na may mga surprises, no? That children are a gift from the Lord. And kahit na, of course, may mga anxiety pa din, lalong-lalo na when it comes to finances and needs. But still, we make arrangements and we prepare, di ba? And So since you have two kids and now, grabe, teenagers na sila, no? Ang bilis. Um, Paano naman yung process nila for yung moving from the Philippines to the US? Can you talk about their experience too?
Okay, well, we decided when they were born na, of course, to give them an edge, like how probably we were raised up in the Philippines. Syempre, yung parents natin spoke to us in English, and then we wanted to speak to them in English para, pagdating sa school, and this knowledge na, this idea that they will always have Tagalog in their growing up. So we needed to train them in English. Kaya lang, coming to America, made us realize na parang, now we have to reverse it. Kasi although they didn't struggle with the language, there was no language barrier. English was their first language. Pagdating dito, parang ang concern namin, syempre, we wanted to not just preserve yung sense of being Filipino, ma-establish pa rin yung culture sa kanila. Pero we also didn't want them to grow up na parang as strangers to yung ano natin, yung ating nationality, yung ating pagiging Pilipino. So yeah, we've been we reversed it. Now we were trying to parang we did our best to speak to them in Filipino, and then growing up with the Filipino community here, sinasabi namin kausapin niyo sila ng Filipino. Kaya lang nakita rin namin, it was also a struggle na kahit na they are speaking the language, iba pa rin talaga. Kasi in the Philippines, of course, we had help. We had family na regularly, nag-meet kami regularly every week. And then they have their cousins. Because of sa Philippines pa lang, na sila eh. We decided to homeschool them. Pero marami silang friends, maraming opportunities to meet different people. So it was the challenge was when we came here sa US, parang now we were thinking of how do they have yung magandang interaction. The first time that we enrolled them sa school, you see, kala natin yung English nila okay na, no? Kasi ginagaya nila yung nasa sa TV. Pero there's still some nuances. There's also a few differences. And you would get to understand that, okay, that they speak in such a way na how a Filipino would speak English. So wala yung mga colloquial terms na they would. So sometimes they would. May times na parang nagiging naging weird sa mga kaklase. May times na syempre pagdating dito, may mga moments din na sila na-ridicule. A few moments lang naman, hindi naman madalas kasi we were sa Philippines, yung understanding natin, yung mga tao sa Amerika, lalo na yung mga nag-aaral doon, nabubuli automatically bully yung mga minorities and all that. Pero awan ng Diyos, hindi naman all the time. There were just a few moments na they were ridiculed for yung kinakain nila, yung mungkaon nila, syempre, yung sasabihin sa kanila, that looks gross. And they would just want na, well, it tastes great anyway. If you want to try it, then that's good. And then I think I would remember na yung panganay namin, first year dito sa US when I think she was in grade 5. Tapos meron siyang kaklase na lumapit sa kanya, sabi niya, well, if you want me to be friendly to you, you have to give me like $1 and just so happens na syempre kami, we didn't know any better. Binigyan lang namin ng pocket money yung anak namin, pero na-realize namin na you don't really need to give them money when they go to school. Pero bahala ka kung tuturuan mo sila ng value ng savings through their allowance, pero they don't really need that kasi meron silang ID, meron silang free breakfast and lunch and all that. So and education, public education is also free. So we didn't really need to give them money. Pero pagdating doon, of course, we didn't know any better. Sabi nung kaklase, kung gusto mo maging kaibigan kita, bigyan mo ako ng pera. And then, nireport namin. Of course, we were upset. I don't know if it's $1 or $5. I may, kasi we were really concerned. So we went to the school, and tamang-tama, nagpo-promote sila ng anti-bullying. And they acted swiftly naman. They confronted the kid. They called the parents, and sabi naman nila, hindi naman talaga siya ganyan. Hindi naman daw ganun yung bata na nambubuli. So, I mean, of course, we give them the benefit of the doubt. Kaya lang, syempre, kadarating mo na you felt na parang you're feeling very protective of your children. Tapos ganun yung mangyayari. And then there was another incident dun sa second na anak naman namin, si Jasmine. Sa school bus, syempre, tabi-tabi kayo ganyan. And then sabi nung isang kasama niya dun sa school, yata siya or pinapaalis yung bag niya dun sa upuan para makaupo siya. And then sabi nung bata sa anak namin, bakit hindi mo inalis? Bakit mo hindi inalis yan? Siyempre, nangatwiran yung anak namin. Hindi naman kita narinig. I didn't understand you or I didn't really understand what you're saying. And then sabi nung bata, I don't want to hear it ching-chong, sing-song. Parang mga derogatory terms na. But we're just glad na nung nireport din ng anak namin because we wanted her to really go to her teachers and report that incident before we actually go to the school, just to teach them na, try to handle things. If you can handle it yourself, then that would be great. So they took action. They tinawag naman nila yung bata and then pinagsabihan nila. And then they reassured my child na, that wouldn't happen again. So another challenge din kasi, and I'm sorry if I'm just letting it flow out.
No worries.
Syempre, pagdating dito, yung understanding mo na you have everything under your control. Na, okay, papalakihin ko yung mga anak ko as Filipinos. You have that fear na, if I spank them, child services may come and bring me to jail or anything like that. So, well, yes, but it depends. Pero more people here are more open to, yung proper discipline. Sometimes spanking, pero it depends on the spanking. Kaya lang, we didn't rely too much on that. Kaya lang, yung discipline aspect, we noticed na, growing up, now that they're getting to know their environment and they're getting to know different people, pati sa school, yung ugali nagbabago rin. So, nagiging, parang yung culture, they're now acquiring yung, talking back to adults, doing this, kasi narinig din nila sa classmates nila. So, for a time, of course, we needed to deal with that. Pero, as with any teenager, they would, growing up, they would experience and they don't like me saying this, pero yung hormones and all that. So everything do, probably everything I do is irritating to them. So those are the things na we needed to, because of this pandemic, now that we're getting closer, yung idea kasi when you're in the same place, nagkakairitahan kayo and all that, pero it's the opposite. Now we're starting to reestablish yung magandang relationship. But before, oh my goodness, it was like terrible. We didn't know what was happening. Of course, sa Philippines, may mga ganyan din, may mga pagre-rebelde din. Pero I guess the difference is that sa Philippines, it's established even in the school. They're teaching you good manners, right conduct, respect for elders, don't answer back. Pero dito, it's more of like, just let your thoughts be known and whatever, freedom of speech and all that, not that it's bad. Kaya lang, syempre, unfettered and unfiltered freedom would always not be beneficial. We always still need to do what is right. So those are the differences lang na nakita namin nakita namin sa kids namin, and yung challenges pala na yeah, a bit of rebellion here and there, pero we strive to, pero kami rin, we fail sometimes. Yung patience namin, umiikli din yung PC namin. It's and we make mistakes, pero we're just glad na at the end of the day there are wiser people around you who would say na, you know, you got to extend grace, and you have to go to God's word whenever you're wondering ano ba yung mga principles na kailangan gawin, how to really rear children properly in the fear of the Lord. And I'm just blessed na now they're starting to appreciate it even better, yung things that we have been doing in the past. So I guess it comes with age. I guess because now they're moving. The other day we were practice driving, so I was teaching them both of them how to drive, and it's just a matter.
You're there now. Tinuturuan mo sila mag-drive, man.
Man, so yun, parang ganun yung mga challenges.
Well, I think talaga iba ang kultura ng mga bata dito sa US. I think kasi kahit yung panganay namin, he's 7 now, he goes to the Nashville Public Schools. Tapos minsan din talaga he talks back kasi partly very well-mannered naman siya sa school. Sinasabi ng teachers namin, pero pagdating sa bahay, siguro kasi it's a safe space, tapos he speaks his mind, tapos tinuturuan sila to verbalize their feelings instead of either bottling it up or mag-lash out na lang physically. So I think bilang parents na lumaki sa Pilipinas, we have this worldview, this mental model of how parenting works, how kids should talk to their parents. Parang I remember kahit nung teenager ako I cannot talk back to my dad. So yung mom ko, it's a different story, no? Kasi usually mas close ako sa nanay ko. So minsan nakaka-talk back ako. Pero here it's like our the parenting style that we're familiar with sa Pilipinas, it's like upended, and we're also learning, and alongside all the other things that we're trying to learn in this new culture, in this new society. And so I think nabanggit mo din, Melvin, yung approaches to discipline and a little bit of spanking. And I think since dito sa South, we're both in the South, no? Florida, Tennessee, I think medyo mas lenient sila sa religious view on discipline na merong element ng spanking. Of course, kapag ka nagkalatay-latay na yung bata, ibang usapan na yun, di ba? Abuse na talaga yun. But at the same time, I think it's a continuous learning process, yung discipline as they grow older. Ito pa nga yung isang naiisip ko, since I have 2 sons, magiging 3 silang sons soon, and I'm not sure how true it is na magkaiba ang boys and girls growing up. Well, I would say actually, based on my observation, magulo ang boys.
Well, that's what my mom said. Yan yung sinasabi. I know.
Which is not to say na hindi magulo ang girls. Kasi I know also na may mga girls na magugulo din, and may mga boys na gentle din, di ba? But in any case,
speaking, yeah. I mean, physically different. So, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But isa sa mga napapansin ko daw, yung aming eldest, si Malcolm, he is starting to get some of the southern accent. So minsan nagjo-joke ako na, our son is working on his Filipino-American Southern hybrid accent. So
that's so funny. Oh, yeah. And sometimes nga pagka nagsasalita nga sila and I thought I could, parang assimilate na syempre, yeah, nakakapag-English naman ako. Kaya lang, minsan talaga may times, pag nagsasalita silang yung dalawang anak ko, sinasabi ko sa asawa ko, ano daw? Tapos pati ewan ko rin eh. Hindi ko rin masyadong mabilis or masyadong slang or masyadong, yeah, that's so funny. You
Yeah.
met.
Oh, also, I wanted to ask you, Kuya Melvin, kasi when you first came to the US, syempre Facebook friends tayo, no? And I've seen your photos, and just in the past year or maybe 2 years, you've grown so much fitter than when I knew you in the Philippines. So, can you talk a bit about, scheduling time for fitness? I think kayong dalawa ni Ate Cherm, di ba? Scheduling time for fitness, being a family man, and also finding time for your wife and your kids.
Wow. And I do appreciate it. Thank you, Mighty. It's difficult kasi when we came here, syempre, and I know that you can relate to this, you are given access to a lot of food. I came here, I was 175, around that, 175 pounds. So I was relatively fit when I came here, 2013. And then, bottomless soda, and then everyone wants to feed you and all that. Pero it's more, I don't really put, I also put blame on myself kasi pagdating dito sa US, you tend to abuse yung availability of food. Ako kasi I'm a sucker for donuts. I love donuts. So dito, because it's available, because you can easily acquire it, and proportionally, hindi kagaya sa Pilipinas, talagang luho yung mga ganyan eh. Dito kasi parang, okay, so you get a donut. Pero dito, you can get 12 donuts or you can get 2 dozen donuts for the price of one and all that. And so I grew. I ballooned to 220 pounds.
Oh wow!
I guess in the span of 3 to 4 years, and then I just to make it clear, I wasn't really bothered by how I looked. I was perfectly comfortable with myself. I liked yung idea na, ridiculing myself from time to time. I got used to the fat jokes. I could really identify with that. Kasi really, I mean, I got fat, and not that being big is bad. Pero yeah, there was a time when I was suffering yung mga aches and pains. Late 30s, yan na. Parang medyo na yan. And then, nagkakaroon ng mga regular checkups. And then, one day, sa company nga ng wife ko, nagkaroon sila ng free checkup. And then, well, not necessarily free, perks ng pero you know what I mean. Pero nung nag-check up nga, the doctor said, well, I hate to break it to you, pero you're pre-diabetic. So I found out I was pre-diabetic. I was overweight, borderline obese, parang ganun. I lost my neck. I didn't care about how I looked, and I was telling my wife, I really don't care. And if I die, I die. Pero I want to live. Yun yung point. I want to live life. I know it sounds ironic. Kaya lang sabi ko, I want to enjoy. Nasa Amerika tayo. Availability of food. And, I'm just enjoying life. Pero I found out, actually, my wife told me that that's a very selfish way to live. If I die, of course, I would have to leave her with the responsibilities. Pero more than that, my wife made it clear that she really cared for my health. So here's the thing. When I found out that I was overweight and pre-diabetic, yung wife ko just went ahead and enrolled me in a gym. Hindi naman away. When we struggle, when we fight, it's not really yung away. It's just that I felt slighted kasi sabi ko, why didn't you ask for my permission? Or, and of course the Bible does say that your body belongs to your spouse and all that. Kaya lang, I said, I don't know if I have time for that. But I tried kasi sayang yung enrollment and all that. I did go to the gym in the Philippines, but it was quite different here. I wanted to pinch pennies. I wanted to be economical. So, pero tinuloy ko na rin, and that thing led to another. And then we found out about a member. Well, there were some members in our church who were trying some diets. And then sabi ko, sige nga, i-ano nyo nga sa akin yun. And then I tried it. And that's one thing that I discovered in sa sarili ko, when there are only a few things that I really get into. Pero once I get into something that I really like, I don't stop. And I really try to give it 100%. So, yun nga, yung diet na I don't really parang prescribe yung, kasi everyone has their own body type and all that. Pero at first I tried the keto diet. And eventually now I'm off the keto diet, but I tried the intermittent fasting. Pero more than that, I try to remain as active as I can. To the question, para bang, how do you find time for that? Especially with the different duties, especially now during quarantine. The kids are at home. I have to function as principal and all that on top of other. So what I do, at least, and I don't know if this will work for other people, is to really create that yung mindset na, man, I can't go back to where I was before. I'm not doing this because I was unhappy with my looks, pero I feel a lot better now. I interact a lot better, not just with my family, pero with the people at my church. Makes me feel great. And yung concept na parang you're also thinking about yung ibang tao, you're who depend on you. Syempre, my wife would definitely need help. Not that the Lord will just let her starve once I'm gone. The Lord will definitely take care of her. But it's more of like, okay, what do I want to achieve in terms of yung physical yung how I yung weight wise, or siguro the clothes na and I had to get rid of most of my wardrobe kasi XL triple double XL, yun na yung and now I'm down to medium, and sometimes I fit in small. Pero the goal there is to talagang sabi ko nga, I really have to put it in my schedule. Like, this is a time to work out. My time to work out usually is around this time, 2 to 3, and then that's the time that I would have to pick up the kids from school. Pero now that they're at home, I have more time to work out. I do not work out na parang I do not focus on the heavy lifting. It'll make me more hungry. So I just focus on the burst, yung quick bursts of activity, and then rest, and then majority is the diet talaga. I removed yung sugar, and I reduced my glycemic intake. I have to really try and measure that. And
so no more rice for you? No more extra rice?
Well, on weekends, sometimes I cheat. So may rice, especially when may kainan sa church, when there's rice and you don't want them to feel bad because you're not eating what they prepare. So, but after that, you go back talaga, go back, and of course doing the chores. One thing that's really great about living in America, as opposed to yung concept ng mga tao sa Pilipinas na, sarap ng buhay. Actually,
yes.
For people who are watching, Mighty and I, really, you have to understand, we need to learn how to be handy, and to be handy with the house, to take care of stuff, to not just figure everything out. Because in the Philippines, there are people who would be able to do that. So dito, mowing the lawn,
Mm.
fixing your deck,
Mhm.
um, parang fixing your car.
Mm.
It's you really have to know that. So it helps. So yun nga, discipline. It's cliche yung discipline. Okay, you have to have a set of goals and you have to have a set time. Kaya lang, um, here's one thing that really helped me then. The more that I felt like not working out, the more that I would
Mm.
drag myself.
Mm.
And today, na pinaalam sa amin ng gym na they're back
Mm.
open. Kaya I won't, I won't go there yet, just yet. Pero at least now, talagang if I feel like I don't want to work out, that's the time when I really drag myself.
Mm.
So once it becomes a routine, once that you're used to activity, then you suddenly see now, oh, it isn't so bad. It isn't so bad after all. So
Wow. It's a commitment and the thought na you want to live longer, not just for yourself, but for the people who depend on you. That kaya thank you for sharing your fitness journey, Kuya Melvin. Ako naman, I think I let it slide a little bit. I think maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was regularly in the gym. I was watching my diet carefully. Pero this past year or so, medyo mas madalas akong kumakain ng rice. Masarap magluto ang misis eh. And syempre mga kapitbahay and friends na Filipinos, when we just gather together, di ba, masasarap ang pagkain. You miss like kare-kare and all the good food from the Philippines. Grabe.
boy.
But yeah, I think during those times that I'm struggling, that's when I need to drag myself more and do my fitness routines. And another thing, Kuya Melvin, and maybe we still have time for just one more question. And if you're okay to talk about it, I know that I think maybe a year or so ago, you found out that you were pregnant, but for some reasons it didn't proceed. Can you talk about how you and your wife dealt with the pain and recovering from that?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it happened twice. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it happened in 2017 and then last year, the miscarriage. So we found out that we were expecting, and of course, exciting. Kaya lang, ang nasa isip namin, we're not getting any younger.
Mm.
And here's the thing, I don't know about yung opinions ng ibang tao. Kaya lang, now that you're expecting your third child, kudos to you. When a lot of young people out there are reluctant to have children kasi, well, mainly because they're worried about how they would be able to provide and how they would be able to feed. Kaya lang, sa akin, as believers, this is where trust in the Lord comes in. Na parang, this is your joy. This is a gift from the Lord. And we need to understand that the Lord loves our children and He will care for them and He will provide for yung ano man yung what is necessary for them to grow up healthy. Kaya lang, there are also times when the Lord has other plans, and sometimes people would suggest na kita mo, it's kaya mas maganda to just para put it off. I guess for us, and this is not for everyone, I know, pero there were certain moments na I guess the first miscarriage, we were really saddened. It happened on a Saturday and I had to preach on a Sunday. I had the option of not going to church. Kaya lang, I felt in my heart na para bang no, this is, I have to still give praise and thanks to God. It's difficult, pero yeah, the Lord is still good. Kaya lang, during these times of mourning, we thought, would it have made a difference if we had tried earlier? Kasi before, nung nasa Philippines pa kami, nakadalawang anak, and of course, si Jasmine, yung second namin was a surprise. We experienced challenges, difficulties, syempre, paano na yan, 4 mouths to feed. And then we also experienced a lot of judgment from the people around us. So sadly, yun nga, a few people in our family, yung mga not immediate family, pero yung mga people around us, pagka nagkakaroon ng mga reunions, parang ang lumalabas, we have been irresponsible, and yet, nakita namin na both of us were working. We were able naman meron naman kaming place na tinitirhan at that time. So they were really implying na don't try again. Kumaga, don't let this happen again. And so years, just 1 year, 2 years turned to 4 years, and then eventually we said, okay, pagdating sa US, that's the time that we want to try again. Kasi probably we'd be able to be more financially stable kasi nga nasa US na. But sadly, we put it off. Both of us got a little bit older. So high risk na talaga. This is a fact. I mean, this is not na talagang sinasabi ng doctors na if you are in your late 30s, you are already at the high risk bracket. They told that to my wife, not necessarily because my wife was working or because she was too busy or she was parang naging na-strain siya sa physically, kaya siya nagka-miscarriage. However, after the miscarriage, yun yung time na talagang we found ourselves, my wife and myself, or me, hindi lang ako, not just me and my wife, pero now we had 2 other people in our family who were grieving, who were excited. Kasi, I think, Jazzy was already 10 years old. Diana was already a teenager. Relatively, malaki na yung agwat. Pero when we found out that we were expecting, my wife was pregnant, parang shinare pa nga namin sa Facebook, and then eventually, after 3 months, my wife, who hindi naman siya talaga nahihirapan sa pagbubuntis, and we were in a restaurant during that time, she was having her fill of yung mga cravings niya. Then nagkaroon ng bleeding. And then we went to the hospital. That was a Saturday, and we went to the hospital and we stayed there overnight. And then the doctor told us na we had lost the baby. And just additional information. I don't really like blood. I'm a very queasy person. Kaya lang at that time, the doctor showed me of course, what they had extracted from my wife. And a lot of people may argue na, buti na lang nangyari yun at an early stage. Kaya lang hindi pa rin. It's still a very difficult situation wherein parang you were holding on to that promise na you can get to have another offspring. Progeny will be the continuation of your legacy. Pero it wasn't, the Lord has had other plans, and nung time na yon, we were bummed out. Talagang grabe, ang hirap. I thought losing my dad was the most painful circumstance of my life, and I'm sure there would be more. Pero nagulat ako na this was really difficult. We were crying every day. Took us about, and now we're still hurting. And then nung nangyari ulit siya last year, I think this was tougher on my wife kasi now she was telling me na parang I think I'm done trying. Now that we're in our 40s, parang I guess it's time to call it quits, unless really the Lord proves us wrong. Pero it'll take a miracle for that to happen. Pero it was really difficult. It was um, during those moments, we get to question yung purpose ng Lord. Ano yung, kamusta yung, I mean, would we be able to know yung children namin na nasa heaven when we meet them again? So it still hurts and it's still painful to think about. Pero yeah, we just rely on God's sovereignty. We rely on His goodness. I'm sure that the Lord knows. The Lord is too wise to be mistaken, and He is kind, and we hold on to that. Kaya yun yung ano. And I noticed din sa wife ko physically. Before, she was really so strong. You know, it's hindi siya masyado nadadapuan ng sakit. Pero now, of course, she would have to be more mindful of her steps. And kasi nga, mas prone siya sa siguro yung mga sakit and all that. So it's quite difficult. And for me as a dad, as a father, parang I don't know if there are others out there who would be able to relate to me as well. Pero it's emasculating. If it makes sense. Parang ako, you have that feeling like the great Vikings of old siguro. Na parang you want your tribe to increase. And I am so glad to have daughters. Don't get me wrong. They are a joy. I love having daughters. They're fun to talk to. They're fun to sing with. They're really full of life. They sometimes break out in song and dance. Kaya lang, yung time na yun, we were all hopeful na I would have sons. And so it was just like, oh wow. Sobrang lungkot na okay. Looks like I won't have sons then. And in our family, even my brothers, puro daughters. So I know God's purpose, pero it's not it's something that I have to deal with then in the ego side. And it's very profound kasi we grew up in a tradition of parang, okay, now I want the family name to continue to press on. But I see it as God telling me, "No, it's not your name that needs to be spread or to be lifted up. So your daughters are also also have that potential to continue on in your legacy, in your ministry, but in different ways, in ways that are not really known to you. So I really have to concede dun sa idea na yun. So yeah, so that's
yeah. Thank you for sharing your heart, Kuya Melvin. I know it's that journey is painful and hard, and but I hope and pray that you continue to be strong, you and Ate Cherm, and having daughters. I've seen some of their photos. They're very talented, and parang ikaw, very musically inclined, no?
Grateful for that. Thank God.
Yes. And so, Kuya Melvin, as we wrap up, there may be some younger dads, younger fathers. I think I have 7 years of experience being a father now. Ikaw meron ka ng 16 or 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years
so,
to be exact.
If there's a piece of wisdom that you can share with younger fathers, what would that be?
Well, at the top of my head, off the cuff, talagang I'd say, trust in God. Just trust in your fears. Sometimes get the better of you. You think na parang, especially with the pressure that society places on your shoulders, you would think that, okay, I have to figure everything out. I have to carry all of this. Pero there is a strong arm that helps us. And if we wonder, where's my help going to come from? Well, our help comes from, it sounds like religious talk. It sounds like, okay, that's, parang it's so idealistic. Pero the reality is, when you when you realize na there will be things that would be beyond your control, like in my case, yung mga miscarriages or yung mga situations where unfavorable circumstances na that would lead you to siguro, just look for ways how to support your family. Pero know that, God is on top of things. And don't be so quick to para bang assess yung situation na sometimes we think God doesn't like us or God isn't there. So kasi I was in that position. The reason why I'm saying that, it's not just because I'm saying this, not just because I'm in the ministry or anything like that. Kasi I said those words. Sabi ko, Lord, where are you? What are you doing? Especially in my earlier years as a father, I get to question, and I thought na para bang it was my own understanding. I thought everything was just up to me. Pero knowing full well that God gives us the strength, and He is the source of our strength. So don't lose sight of that. So don't lose hope. Don't think na, oh no, there's no way out of this. Because there are a lot of fathers, by the way. Statistics would show that there are more men who are committing suicide. And I don't know, you can Google that, by the way. Pero kasi there are pressures that are there, especially young fathers na who are thinking na parang look, kasi iba, ano talaga there's ego, testosterone, being competitive. When you look at the Joneses, they're building a huge house, they have a better car, and you feel that you need to compete with that. I tell you right now, if you're a young dad watching, stop that right now. You have your own journey, you have your own timeline. Things aren't working out now, but just wait on the Lord. He will renew your strength, and seek Him, and all these things that you need will be added unto you. Just hang in there. Things will be all right. Okay. I hope that makes sense again. Because sometimes I say a lot of stuff. Yeah. I find myself saying a lot of stupid things. I hope that wasn't stupid.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, Kuya Melvin. Thank you so much, because for sure, as a father, you will need a source of strength as you go through this journey. Kasi may mga times na you will burst, may mga outbursts, may mga minsan iisipin mo saan nanggaling yun, 'di ba? But at the same time, it's relying on a strength beyond yourself, from God. That's something that can help us sustain in spite of the challenges, and the challenges will come, no doubt about it. So
yeah, surely.
So, Kuya Melvin, thank you so much for joining me for this heartwarming conversation, and thank you for sharing your heart. So,
you are most welcome. The pleasure is mine. It's great seeing you again, Mighty. It's great having this time with you, and also all your viewers. Wow, I feel blessed being here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks.